In 5 minutes, I will give you a different take to what Mr. Bisi so eloquently giving us a practical representation for. I will use short sentences to capture what he has said, and I hope you can infer for yourselves what would make sense out of it. Having spent over a decade on this capital market, I think what he described for us was what we have been enjoying, the new normal, which is the inconsequential approach to managing the economy of this country, which he has also, in some ways, shown to us that it reflects more like a reality TV of an underdeveloped nation struggling with dealing with God-given human resources, both in terms of minerals, in terms of people, in terms of the capacity to turn its fortunes around. What he has described for us has also been more like the paradox of a nation, of a strong GDP growth in the economy, with rising poverty, and also rising unemployment and chaotic nature. But let me say this, let me be honest. The fact that we are discussing rejuvenating the market in 2012, after 2000, what happened in 2008, is the clearest reflection that the country hasn't moved any inch at all. It is also a signpost that the scandal that is called regulation in Nigeria is getting to very abysmal levels right now. My take on it is that if you look at the central point of Mr. Onosanya's presentation, he kept on emphasizing on corporate governance. And what do you mean by corporate governance? Basically, it means that we lack believability in terms of the returns that come out of us. You find situations where you have ministries, central bank, or perhaps even the organs of the presidency talking on the same topic and also citing 3 different figures between the Ministry of Planning, National Planning, Bureau of Statistics, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Ministry of Finance, on budget. You may have 5 extreme figures, and to the extent that we probably just rely on the World Bank figures to run the country. My take is that it is no surprise to me that we are talking about rejuvenating the market, and the major conclusion from Mr. Bisi is to draw the nexus between the economy and the capital market, and that they are not one and separate from each other. And if you look at it, with a 7% GDP growth rate over the years, which he has most successfully, I think this is a good quality of our accountants, showing you that it's a negative growth that you're having. And it's a question of relativity and absolute figures in terms of how people discuss this thing. Does not make sense. Let me go to his solutions, however. I've had the privilege of reading his paper. As a consultant to the badly managed Capital Markets Committee that went on a show of shame recently, there was no point, at any point, where the telcos were being asked to be forced into any unholy alliance. I think we should use the word that rather than use compulsory, let me consider it obligatory. The state the Nigerian economy is that you have about 32 trillion economy, and you have a capital market that's just floating around 5 trillion. The fastest growing sector in your economy in the last 5 years is the telecom sector. There's no relationship between the growth areas of your economy and your capital market. The fastest growing areas in your economy, again, outside the telcos, however, is the agri, and it's so succinctly as well, also identified for you that we're not growing in terms of industrial agriculture or subsistence agriculture. The key component of this argument about achieving a growth-based economic model is that what happened in Argentina and what happened in, specifically Argentina, you had emphasized this in different forums, was that the sequence of hot money, the role of hot money in the Nigerian economy, it has been the underplay that the real economy has always been built around the hot money syndrome. Is that until we can achieve a way in which we have a growth-inclusive model in the economy, we will not achieve anything. You see, all the fastest growing areas, the banking industry, the telecom sector, whereas again, the oil and gas sector, these are low employment areas of the economy. The total number of people here is less than a fraction of the population of this country. And I saw there is no nexus between your economy and your market, and your markets do not exist in isolation. The arguments about the market is really an argument about your economy. And so what we have done, and I can say this, working as a firm and as ProShare, and working with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the House of Representatives, and some very concerned Nigerians, a bill has been put together, and a study group has been commissioned to look at the Kenya example, what happened in South Africa, and we've seen how they've used incentives to do so. And I think you're correct, sir, when you say that this second round of licensing, well, in Nigeria, semantics sometimes just a bit, is not going to be the usual run of the mill. But if you look at the way things are going, I can assure you that we will go through this phase and nothing will change. The bill is out, the things are there, nobody is talking to the other, the presidents, the three arms of government, the judiciary, the executive, the legislature, we're in a permanent state of chaos. We're in a permanent state of chaos. I mean, let's try to get it so succinctly. This issue about creating a nexus between the economy and the capital market would perhaps help to address those questions you talk about liquidity. With all due respect, sir, when you mention the word about liquidity, you also forget the question about free float in the first place. The nature of our capital markets and our stock markets assumes that most of these shareholdings in these companies are not available in the market. You have virtually 60 to 70% of it not available. So when you have that problem, even if you have the cash, you are chasing over the same set of things. And again, you said it yourself, 10% of total companies in the market have been traded. But let me put it in a different way for you. We did an analysis of the market makers and the baskets under which were available within each of the market makers. In the first place, your market makers list have people who do not even have the ability to finance themselves, talk less of fund the market. They are not in any position to be able to assess credit, even if there are credit guidelines in place. They are not competent nor capable enough to deliver what the market requires. And so you find yourself going into this musical chairs conundrum. Without repeating another lecture, let me just go to the second one, investor awareness. The retail market is technically dead. The institutional investors, however, still hold, still hold some leeway in terms of what they want to do. But again, there's really nothing for them to do. So in terms of investor awareness, where do you really start? I think the question for me is not about investor awareness. If you look at what happened with Madoff in America, in UK, and most recently in the Barclays Bank incident, what happens in these institutions is that it's not that they are not corrupt. In fact, some of them are more corrupt than we are. Maybe a little bit tidier with their corruption. What is happening is that when they see these problems, they know that even though we are friends, once you get caught, you will face the law. You are my friend, Mr. Rekoya, but if you do get caught, you will face the wrath of the law. But that is how the system works. Now, would you ever find a situation where the chairman or the managing director of a bank would resign on their own without the CBN asking them to? Would you find a situation where currently today in Nigeria we have almost two DGs for the Security and Exchange Commission? One is undermined, the other is unsure of whether you are suspended or not. The board in a country like Nigeria, you have a situation where you have executive commissioners whom you know would never ever be retained after their second tenure, but nobody took any action to advertise, to recruit, to anticipate that you are in direct violation of the ISA as you are today as a Securities and Exchange Commission. That as it is today, it is an aberration that you have a sole administrator in charge of your SEC. The ISA never envisaged a position where you do not have a board and you do not have executive commissioners. Gentlemen, there is much more I would like to say. But sir, you provided an excellent paper, but I would like to leave you on one last note. Right? The self-contradictions that are apparent in our market can be reviewed in a timeline. There was a time we assembled the best of the brains in the country to put together a capital market roadmap. The document was produced and kept in some areas. Only a few of us saw it. Secondly, we produced a roadmap. Third, the Nigerian Stock Exchange produced their own roadmap. If you look at these three documents, you will then be able to see the apparent contradictions why this market will not recover anytime soon. Thank you.